NATO troops trapped in Russia, the crisis that could change the war forever. The war in Ukraine has taken an unprecedented turn. Reports indicate that NATO troops are trapped in Russian territory, leading to a desperate plea for a ceasefire from the West. Vladimir Putin has responded with a clear ultimatum: surrender or die. What does this mean for the future of the conflict? Stay with us as we uncover the shocking details behind this crisis and its potential to change the global balance of power. The situation in Ukraine has escalated beyond expectations. While NATO has been supplying weapons and resources to Ukraine, reports confirm that Western troops, special forces, intelligence agents, and military instructors are currently trapped inside Russian-controlled zones. The United States, with Donald Trump leading negotiations, has proposed a 30-day ceasefire to allow these soldiers to withdraw safely. However, Russia remains skeptical, believing this could be a ploy to buy time and rearm Ukraine. Meanwhile, NATO's credibility is crumbling as the alliance struggles to justify its involvement. The war has reached a point of no return, and today, we analyze the key developments shaping this historic moment. The mobilization and supply of weapons in Ukraine. Since the beginning of the war, NATO countries have funneled billions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine. Tanks, artillery, and advanced missile systems have been sent to bolster Ukrainian forces. However, reports suggest that a significant portion of these weapons never reach the front lines. Corruption, logistical issues, and Russian airstrikes have disrupted supply chains, leaving Ukrainian soldiers under-equipped. Meanwhile, Russia has ramped up its production of hypersonic missiles and advanced warfare technology, gaining a significant advantage on the battlefield. The 30-day ceasefire proposal, a desperate move by the West. In a stunning turn of events, the United States has proposed a 30-day ceasefire, with former President Donald Trump leading the charge. The objective? To secure a safe withdrawal for NATO personnel trapped in Russian-controlled areas. This move signals a shift in Western strategy, acknowledging the dire situation these soldiers face. However, Moscow remains wary. Putin has dismissed the ceasefire as a deceptive tactic designed to regroup and rearm Ukrainian forces, reinforcing his stance that only unconditional surrender is an option for foreign troops on Russian soil. NATO troops caught in Russian territory, a major setback. One of the most shocking revelations of this war is the presence of NATO soldiers in Russian-held areas. These are not just mercenaries, but officially trained operatives from Western nations. Special forces, military advisors, and intelligence agents have reportedly been conducting operations within Ukraine, but now find themselves stranded. This revelation has triggered a wave of controversy in the West, as governments struggle to explain how their troops ended up in such a vulnerable position. Putin's uncompromising response: no negotiations, only surrender. Vladimir Putin has made it clear that Russia will not entertain any negotiations regarding the withdrawal of NATO forces. In a speech to the Russian parliament, he declared that the only options available to these troops are to surrender or face destruction. This hardline stance has sent shockwaves through Western governments, exposing their limited options in this escalating crisis. The collapse of NATO, a defining moment for the alliance. The war in Ukraine was meant to demonstrate NATO's strength and unity, yet it has instead revealed its vulnerabilities. The fact that NATO is now pleading for a ceasefire signals a strategic failure. If the alliance cannot protect its own troops or prevent them from being trapped, what does this say about its overall effectiveness? Critics argue that this could mark the beginning of NATO's decline, as trust in its leadership erodes. Political fallout in the West, the scandal that no one saw coming. The presence of NATO troops in Russian-held areas is more than just a military disaster. It is a political catastrophe. Governments that once denied any direct involvement are now scrambling to manage the fallout. Ukraine's military resources are running dry. Beyond the political turmoil, Ukraine faces an even more pressing issue: the depletion of its military resources. Reports indicate that Ukrainian forces have run out of long-range missiles, severely limiting their offensive capabilities. Without immediate resupply, their ability to continue resisting Russian advances is in jeopardy. Meanwhile, Western nations are hesitant to send more weapons, fearing they could end up in the wrong hands or be destroyed by Russian airstrikes before reaching the front. Russia's unmatched military dominance. While Ukraine struggles with resource shortages, Russia continues to expand its military capabilities. The Kremlin has ramped up production of hypersonic missiles, including the unstoppable Kinzhal, which Western defense systems have failed to intercept. This growing military superiority has reinforced Russia's confidence in securing victory, further diminishing the chances of a negotiated settlement. Russia's deep skepticism of the ceasefire proposal is palpable. Putin's reluctance to accept the ceasefire stems from a deep-seated distrust of Western intentions. According to Russian intelligence, past ceasefires have been used to regroup and rearm Ukrainian forces. With this in mind, the Kremlin has no interest in pausing the war only to give NATO an opportunity to strengthen its position. This stance has placed Western leaders in a difficult situation, as their options for resolving the crisis diminish rapidly. The war in Ukraine has reached a point where a peaceful resolution appears increasingly unlikely. Russia holds the strategic advantage, Ukraine is running out of resources, and NATO is facing an existential crisis. The decisions made in the coming weeks will determine the future of this conflict, and possibly the future of global geopolitics. The current state of the Ukraine war presents a bleak picture for the West. With NATO troops trapped in Russian territory, Western leaders are now forced to negotiate from a position of weakness. The proposal of a 30-day ceasefire highlights their desperation, yet Putin's response suggests that Russia will not be swayed by diplomatic gestures. As Ukraine's military capabilities dwindle and Russia's strength grows, the outcome of this war seems increasingly one-sided. This crisis has also exposed NATO's limitations. Once seen as an unshakable force, the alliance now struggles to maintain its credibility. The revelation that NATO personnel are directly involved in the war contradicts earlier claims of non-intervention and could have severe political repercussions. If this situation continues to deteriorate, NATO may face internal fractures that threaten its very existence. Ultimately, this conflict has changed the global balance of power. Russia has demonstrated its military dominance, while Western nations grapple with the consequences of their involvement. The world now watches as this geopolitical chess game unfolds, knowing that its outcome will reshape international relations for years to come. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think NATO can recover from this crisis, or is this the beginning of its downfall? Stay tuned for more updates on this rapidly evolving situation.